us a little bit about where you grew up first. Where you're from originally before it all started.
In an area just south of Austin called Bastrop, Texas, B-A-S-T-R-O-P, which was a city of probably 400 people.
Wow. Small town.
Small town. And my mother's a very strict woman, very bright woman, UT grad and a school teacher. She didn't take any shit from anybody, especially me, man. But she taught me properly and how to get along with people and so forth like that. And that was a good area to come up in. And I'll answer any question you may have of me.
Okay. Well, so what made you decide so coming from Bastrop, what made you decide you wanted to go in the Army?
Because I ran off to join the Marine Corps during World War II, right at the end of World War II.
Okay.
And I got put in jail in Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Really?
Because I didn't have any fucking money. So I hitchhiked across New Mexico and got dumped out in the desert, and it began there.
Okay.
I called my mother. And she said, "Where are you, William?" When my name William was used, I mean my ass was in deep caca, man. I'm in jail here in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Las Cruces, New Mexico? Are you out of your mind? What are you doing out there? How did you get out there? Blah, blah. I hitchhiked. And so forth like that. But we ended up getting along fine. She was an explorer type lady herself. And it began there. And that was I'm trying to figure out when it was. That had to be in the late 40s. Mm-hmm. And I went from there.
So you were, I understand you were in Korea too, is that right?
I went to Korea first chance I got. It was a classified, it was all the Special Forces was classified then. But this was top secret, and they were serious about it.
Yeah.
They didn't want you getting your ass captured either. You got to run through the hills, and they'd come looking for you a week or so later.
Wow.
If we couldn't find you. We didn't have the air pickup and search and rescue and horse shit like that. We didn't have it then.
Right.
But this got all that started.
Wow. So then after Korea, it was Vietnam?
Vietnam. I went to Vietnam way before Korea ended and got in a top secret outfit called SOG, S-O-G, Studies and Observation Group. The only place they were allowed to talk about that was in the Pentagon itself.
Wow.
In their restricted area, SOGs.
Yep. Now, what was SOG's mission?
That meant Studies and Observation Group.
Okay.
That's what SOG meant. That meant you're going to top secret into Hanoi, and you're going to chart Hanoi and other places that they sent you, and you weren't going to get killed, and you weren't going to get captured, or your ass was going to jail. See, you have a choice between not being captured or going to jail. But then it became very good. Okay. And we got the guys that came in there, they had a lot of freedom once they were out of there, because we were using U.S. Air Force special aircraft.
Okay.
And they could take the guys down to wherever they needed to go, Australia or anything like that, for an R&R. And they wanted us to learn Australia well. which was wonderfully wonderful. It's a super place. In fact, they're all good, all those places over there. So I spent about 3 years in that outfit, 3.5,
Okay.
off and on. And I didn't get in any trouble. As long as I'm by myself, I won't get in trouble. See? Or as long as there's no booze. If there's booze around, I get real goofified. By goofified, I mean I dream up shit to do, illegal shit to do when I'm about half lit. Because when I'm about half lit, if you're a lieutenant colonel, I don't give a shit about your rank. We need to learn about this place right here. We need to go into this place right here, and we need to. The only way we can learn it is to be on the ground with it for at least 4 to 6 months.
Okay.
That's where you learn a place.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of stuff takes time.
Well, it takes time to convince the military, which had not didn't function that way, and with that thought in mind, they don't want to function that way. They don't want you because you work for them. But however, when you come out with photos and information that was so great, they said, "Man, we got to keep this up. We have to get more people involved in it," and that's when SOG began.
Okay.
If you know cameras and you can develop and so forth like that, and you can, and I was always pretty bright with messages and so forth, and I had a method. I would take a raft of pictures, go into a country and take photos for about 3 weeks of areas that I had never been into before. Of all of the countries around Sudan, Egypt, and all of the countries of Africa, every one of them. Which is kind of shitty because Africa wasn't all that wonderful. They didn't have all that much to offer. And I did that for about 3 years, and then I'm not bragging about myself, but the outfit just enjoyed my photos, and I became very, very good with small cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And got them photos that they had never had before in different small cities of all the countries around Sudan, south of Sudan, north of Sudan, all the way out to the coast and so forth like that. And then we went into underwater infiltration and stuff like that off the coast of Africa.
Okay.
Which was so classified that we couldn't even talk about it ourselves. Because even our own government, when you go into a danger area and you got maybe a 1-star or 2-star that is at the very top, and one of his people gets killed, he doesn't get a lot of goddamn credit for that. He is not applauded. He's thinking about his future, and that just took his future down because he had 2 or 3 of his men killed in action, and not even couldn't bring bodies out because no one knew where they were killed.
Right.
They knew it was in the country of Chad or whatever country it was, but they're not going to get out on the ground in the goddamn desert, man. I mean, desert from here to all the way to the Med. So they just leave them right there.
Wow.
But we would go in and find the bodies and so forth and get them out. So they depended on SOG to do a lot of
So that was part of their
and
mission.
Keep their mouth shut.
Yeah.
Keeping their mouth shut was that's the first outfit I had been in that was absolutely no discussion of what you had done over the past 6 months or 2 months or 2 weeks or 20 minutes.
Wow.
No discussion with anybody other than your chain, which consisted of about 5 people. So it became enjoyable.
What was the initial training for that like?
None.
None.
Feet on the ground.
Wow.
Nobody had training themselves.
Yeah.
How are you going to train somebody if who's giving you the training hadn't been to the country, doesn't know the country, and especially the exits from the country and the different water holes in the Saudi Arabian desert, which there were a few.
Okay.
And we knew them all. So it was delightful. It was really delightful. But nobody wanted to be in SOG because it was a pretty goddamn good place to get killed. Pretty easy going. You die and not too many people are going to worry about you. Your body's going to be brought out, probably, maybe, if you can get it out. If you can't get it out, you remain there in North Sudan or Chad or whatever for the rest of your days under the sand.
Wow.
And people don't really care for that as a future.
I would imagine not.
But several of us who could imagine what could really happen if we got good at this shit, and especially with language. So where do you learn language? You go to language school to learn a language? No. You go to the country you're going to work in, and you need the language to stay alive, you're going to learn the language enough to get by. So it became, and the people in the countries that we were working with, who weren't all that bright, but who knew the country like the back of their hand, began to enjoy us because we were trying to learn to be like them.
So I have heard that you did one of the first parachute jumps, high altitude parachute jumps in Vietnam. How did that idea come about? Was that a half-lit idea?
No.
No?
No. I made several static line jumps, but when you make static line jumps, you have to hook up.
Right.
And you're only dealing with about 30 feet of static line and so forth. And the plane comes over at a certain speed, but when you go high altitude, you can be tracking at 100 knots.
Wow.
And it throws you about, but if you arch your body hard enough, you'll quit spinning and slow down and come straight down, and then you start looking for your target and you head for it. But you'll have to learn how to do that. You learn this on your own. Nobody taught me that. If I need to go by this water hole, I know about where it is from altitude. I jump over there and I fall over the opening point and fire. And I know that down there somewhere in that mess right there is a water hole. I'm going to make it over there with my parachute. And if you do that at night, who the hell is going to bother you?
Yeah.
And you say, well, how can you see on the ground? There are devices that you can drop on the ground that give you flashes. And that's what you head for.
Okay. Like strobe lights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the people who say, I wonder where the hell they are, the next day you can show them with a plain-ass mirror. We had a mirror device with a double hole in it that we could fix on an aircraft that, say, is 15 miles away. But you can hear, but you run it up there across the sky, and pretty soon that he's going to see the flash, and he knows where you are. That aircraft knows where you are. And they give you a signal with the revving of their motors. And, hey, we see you. And then you go to your commo. The commo is intercepted easily, so you have to be careful. And we weren't able to just talk freely on our commo. Passing information was our hardest part. and it had not been done before.
Hmm.
So of course, the commander general was a 2-star, and it just irked the shit out of him because nobody asked him if, hey, can we start doing this kind of crap? Because it was paying off, and he said, hey, now's my chance to take credit for this. So he moved in a position of backing it, back it to the max. It seemed like he created it.
Right.
And actually he did. If he hadn't given his, we want you to continue and we're going to give you more men and we're going to try to get devices that you can figure out where you are in the desert and you can pass information to high-flying aircraft. I mean, really high flying. But it was all brand new. But when you got back to the zone of interior, the ZI we call it, when you get back to the ZI, you're treated like a true hero. By that, they don't prance you around the CIA building. They send you to different places that you want to go and study, like the deserts of Sudan and so forth like that. And you get all the good operations. Mm-hmm. If there was a new operation coming to be in any nation of 15 different countries in Africa, then our teams were going to get that assignment. Africa belonged to SOG. So how can you beat that? So when you got back, nobody screwed with you. Nobody. And you always ended up in front of the commander general of USASOC.
Okay.
To give him a good briefing, and I learned how to brief well too. I was excellent with maps. So it became a pleasure to do the work.
Oh.
If you get killed, that's just tough shit. When it appears that if you stay where you are, you're going to die, then you have to hayako, Japanese for get the fuck out of there. In a hurry, and it's all done with these babies right here. So the next day they had to find you again. And you knew they would, because when the aircraft comes across, like planes that down here, you can see the aircraft, and with a mirror here, I can flash him, and he can see the flashes. And he knows there's where my team is, but I'm not exactly sure where they are.
Right.
By coordinates. But then they have maps on these aircraft that show what area you're flying over, so that you could pass the location on the ground that you're getting a signal from to HQ. 3-star. What the fuck are they doing down there? What are they doing down there in South Sudan? I didn't tell them to go down there. But they're down there and they're gathering all kind of information. They captured 2 people. They've picked up some kind of device here that has to be classified, and it started paying off immediately. And when the 3 stars get a payoff,
it makes them look good.
Which comes from the Pentagon. That's where they get their payoff, from the Pentagon. Taking shit up there that had never been seen before, that the enemy was using to track us. So it started paying off. But it kept your asshole tight.
I bet it did.
But all movement was at night and under the stars. One thing about the desert, when you're in the desert, you don't run into too many goddamn bushes that are going to grab onto you and say, I want you to stay with me, because they just aren't there. They don't grow. So it became enjoyable.
Good. I'm glad it
And
did.
it became a new way to operate. Or well, none of the normal outfits would dare do anything so brazen as that. None of them. Once we started making captures and so forth like that, and getting to target areas that couldn't be gotten to otherwise, everyone wanted to start that type of an outfit, but they weren't allowed to. Because really, you're dropped here and your target is 16 kilometers away through this and that, and you get on that and you get people chasing you, then they have to deploy aircraft to try to rescue you, and it costs a few U.S. aircraft shot down. It's not all that popular. What you try to do is not get anything shot down. You don't want any of your aircraft shot down, or that's soon going to stop your clandestine infiltration. And because we were able to do that and get away with it, they gave us a lot of privileges. Into, how about a trip? You want a trip over to some of the islands in the Atlantic that where a lot of freedom was allowed and so forth like that. We went everywhere.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about the time you spent chasing down Carlos the Jackal.
Well, that took a while now. Who was Covert Black? I don't know if you've never heard. You remember Covert? Covert Black says, I want you to go into Sudan or Egypt and find Carlos, and he gave me his name. His name is about a half a foot long. I've got this tail here. I'll take you in there and open up my PowerPoint and show you that in a few minutes. And I want you to chase him down and figure out how we can take him down without killing him. Killing is easy, but what do you have once you kill somebody? You got a dead body to get out too. And some shitbird over a 3-star sitting down at HQ saying, why did they kill him? A goddamn prisoner. He could have talked, blah, 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 blah. So killing wasn't on our list, unless you had to. And Osama Bin Laden was staying part-time. He lived in Sudan, but he would come and stay where he could watch the aircraft come in from the U.S. aircraft and get their numbers and get this and get that. So I knew where he lived, and so I set up a deal where I could watch him from above in another building that was about 6 or 7 stories tall, very flimsy type. And I had to stay in there by myself because if somebody goes, it's all over. All the other side has to do is see somebody go into that they don't know, because that's their territory, and your ass is gone. So it was tight. You had to realize when you had been spotted. And if you've been spotted, you have to call that particular area, it's not a safe area anymore. And you have to go find another nearby. But you can't stay out in the middle of the desert and wave at aircraft and get anything across. You have to be able to write crap or CW. You know what CW is?
I don't.
Continuous wave.
Okay.
Morse code. And everyone in SF was a Morse code person. And I was I enjoyed it. I was particularly good at it. I'll show you the deal in a PowerPoint a little bit later on. But you can ask me anything you want to ask me about anything. How do you travel in Africa to go from point A to point B? Let's say it's 15 kilometers, 20 kilometers. NIGHT night. Can you get lost easy? Yes. What do you do when you get lost? You get found or you get spotted and told where you are. Who can tell you that? A high-flying aircraft at about 25,000 feet, and you have a mirror that can flash that aircraft because you can see, the area is clear as far as being able to see. You can hear the sound, and if you keep your eyes intently up in the daytime, you can see the aircraft. Then you have to flash to show where you are. A flash is nothing but a reflection that they see it on their end. Then they have to spot to see where you are on their map. And everybody's happy because you have Camo. Camo's the name of the game.
Yeah.
But Camo's intercepted too. So you have to use encryption, code, and crap like that.
Yeah. So you used to run around Bin Laden's compound when you were in Sudan. Is that correct? That's what I heard. Used to go jogging in the morning?
That's exactly right. Because he lived in an area that had about 30 houses in it. 30, not houses, huts.
Okay.
Broken down huts. I'll show you some photos shortly. But you can't afford for them to know where you go. If he sees you, that's fine, because you wait till night and you get lost again. Because you can get lost. They don't have any devices yet that can track you just by the heat of your body. They didn't have them. We had them, but they did not. But they have them now. They can track you by the heat of your body. We had not only Bin Laden, we had Carlos the Jackal too, to worry about.
You went after him too, right?
Yes, sir. Got him. He's not too far from here right now. He's not far from here.
Really?
He's not 20 miles from here.
How did you guys manage to get?
Not because I'm here.
Right.
But because that's where his ass is in jail forever.
How did you manage to get Carlos?
Got him with the 3 British aircraft. I told my boss, I said, we need to take this asshole in. We need to capture him and take him in. A major who's working for a 3-star general, if he makes a mistake, he's not ever going to make lieutenant colonel, right?
Right.
So they were afraid to do anything. But they weren't afraid to be the boss of a type of individual like I am to nab somebody like Carlos the Jackal. Carlos the Jackal was well known in those days. I'm talking about Sudan, and I'm talking way back. To capture Carlos the Jackal was out of this world. But you can't send some lieutenant colonel out there, go find Carlos the Jackal and capture him, because he's not going to stay out in that goddamn desert looking for Carlos the Jackal for 4 to 6 months. I kind of like the desert, to tell you the truth, especially Sudan. The Sudanese people were halfway decent. They couldn't speak. They had very little English, but I had very little Arabic. But I learned it from them, and we were able to transmit to each other.
So sounds like a lot of the work you did focused on getting close to people, following them, taking pictures. Tell me a little bit about what you think it takes to.
But getting close to people means that you're going to be spotted if you're careless.
Okay.
So when do you have to do it? When is it hard to spot people? Night. So you have to get used to the night, and night I welcomed the night time, and especially after 2100, something like that. You got about a 5-hour block there that you can move around almost freely, because they don't have any devices out to check you out. Nobody's furnishing them devices and so forth to cut through the dark or anything like that, or send signals and lengthy directions. They weren't. If they got them, they came from us.
A lot of patience. A lot of patience sitting and waiting, observing. Like you said, if you're careless, you get caught.
But you can't stay in the same spot, so you have to move all the time. If you stay in the same spot, they'll have your ass just from observing from 400 or 500 yards away from you, because they did have field glasses and so forth like that. They didn't have devices that your body would show heat and show itself. They didn't have that sort of device, thank God. And we did. So we knew where they were 99% of the time. But now when they'd go out to make a move, say 15 or 20 kilometers, you would lose them right quick, because you're not going to try to tail them. Because if you do, your ass is going to end up in their jail.
Mm-hmm. So I heard a story that you got close enough to Bin Laden to kill him with a pencil.
I could have killed him with a pencil easily, but pencil's not going to do the fucking job. If I had to kill Bin Laden with a pencil, I would have driven it right through his eyes. Because if I went for his heart, I might miss that son of a bitch for 4 inches and just piss him off.
Yeah.
Because you get a pencil stuck in you, you're going to react.
Was that from running around that compound of those huts that you were talking about? You said you used to run around a compound. It was about 30. Jogging, right.
Yeah, but I jogged alone.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't jog in pairs, but I think Alex jogged when he first got over there. It's a good cover. Because Americans do stupid things, and jogging is stupid to do. But they don't want any part of it, so they're not going to tag along with you. But they may set up some sort of ambush for you down the road after they see what track you use all the time.
So did you change tracks so that they couldn't do that?
You can't change tracks because the land doesn't belong to you.
Mm.
And they probably have something set up to nail your ass. And if you were killed, it's not going to disturb anybody on their side.
Right.
That you, American lad, has died. They beat their chest. And I did the job. But they didn't like to work at night, which gave you the upper hand. But you have to have a decent plan. You have to have a retract to area and be able to. Everyone has to know your signals that you're sending via commo.
Mm-hmm.
That you have given your retract to such and such an area, and that they have to be careful because they're going to move across your zone, and you don't know who the hell they are when they come across your zone. So you blow them away or give them away with gunshots toward them and what have you. But it was a lot of fun, wasn't it?